Sometimes, the most expensive mistake a man can make is assuming that a person's worth is defined by the grease on their hands or the faded coveralls on their back. Julian Vance learned that lesson in front of a showroom full of wealthy elite, and by the time he realized who he was dealing with, his soft, high-flying life had come to an abrupt and painful end. For 7 years, Julian was the general manager of Apex Motors, the most exclusive luxury auto dealership in the city. Julian was a guy who measured human existence strictly by 0 to 60 times. Leather stitching and six-figure price tags. He strutted through the marble-floored showroom in $700 loafers, talking big, dropping corporate jargon, and treating high-net-worth clients like royalty while treating his floor staff like dirty rags. His absolute favorite target for casual cruelty was Arthur, a quiet, 68-year-old master mechanic who had worked in the service bay for over 20 years. Arthur was a calm, soft-spoken legend in the trade. He wore oil-stained dark blue coveralls, carried a worn metal toolbox, and possessed a rare, near-supernatural talent for diagnosing complex engine faults just by listening to the hum of an idle. While Julian was all flash and no substance, Arthur was pure, honest craftsmanship. Despite Arthur's unmatched expertise, Julian despised him. To a shallow manager like Julian, having an old guy with grease under his fingernails, walking past the pristine glass displays, ruined the high-end aesthetic of the dealership. Everything blew up on a sweltering Friday afternoon. The showroom was packed with high-profile buyers. Parked right in the center of the polished floor was a rare, custom-built $300,000 supercar, gleaming under the bright recessed lights. A young, notoriously arrogant influencer and heir to a tech fortune was inspecting the vehicle, flanked by Julian, who was practically doing backflips to close the deal. Arthur had just finished running a diagnostic test on a nearby vehicle and was walking toward the back office holding a clipboard. As he stepped around the display model, his foot caught the edge of a loose floor mat. He stumbled slightly, his arm brushing against the pristine passenger door of the supercar. A tiny, barely visible smudge of dark engine grease transfer left a tiny mark on the clear coat. The young buyer gasped dramatically. Julian's face turned instantly pale, then flushed into a terrifying dark red. "What in the actual hell are you doing, you brainless old loser?" Julian screamed, his voice booming through the silent, echoey showroom. Every rich customer, salesperson, and receptionist froze in their tracks. Arthur immediately stopped, retrieved a clean microfiber cloth from his pocket, and bowed his head respectfully. "I'm so sorry, Julian. It's just a bit of light grease from my sleeve. It wipes right off with 0 damage. Shut your mouth!" Julian barked, stepping right into Arthur's personal space until their noses were inches apart. "Do you have any idea what this machine costs? You are a dirty, low-wage grease monkey who has no business standing anywhere near a masterpiece like this. Look at you. You look like straight-up trash in my showroom." Julian snatched the clipboard out of Arthur's hands and violently slammed it onto the glass desk, shattering a decorative vase. "You are fired, Arthur. Get your rusty tools and get your old carcass out of my building right now." Julian sneered loudly, ensuring every wealthy patron heard every single brutal word. "And don't even think about asking for your severance. I'm keeping every dime to pay for the professional detailing of this vehicle. Now get lost before I have security throw you out into the street." The young buyer chuckled nastily, crossing his arms. "Honestly, man, good call. You can't have peasants like that ruining the vibe of a place like this." I watched Arthur closely from across the floor. He didn't yell. He didn't plead. He simply took a deep breath, wiped the tiny smudge off the car door until it was spotless, laid his master technician badge on the counter, and walked out into the heat with quiet, unbreakable dignity. Over the weekend, Julian was insufferable. He strutted around, bragging about how he had finally purged the dealership of dead weight. Before we continue this insane story of absolute karma, if you are loving these crazy twist endings, hit that subscribe button right now and drop a like on the video so you never miss another legendary story. On Monday morning, an urgent mandatory memo was blasted to all employees. The corporate board announced that the dealership had been sold over the weekend in a secret, lightning-fast $20 million buyout by a mysterious private investor. The new owner was arriving at 10 o'clock sharp to inspect the facility and restructure management. Julian was buzzing with nervous excitement. He spent an hour adjusting his tie in the mirror, fully convinced that his aggressive sales numbers would land him a massive promotion to regional director. At 10 o'clock on the dot, a sleek, unmarked black luxury sedan pulled up to the main glass entrance. The door opened, and a man stepped out wearing a perfectly tailored charcoal wool suit, handmade leather shoes, and a heavy gold watch. As the man walked into the bright showroom, Julian's jaw dropped. The entire sales team gasped in utter disbelief. It was Arthur. He was no longer wearing oil-stained coveralls. He walked with a firm, commanding posture, flanked by two top-tier corporate attorneys holding leather briefcases. Julian laughed nervously, sweating profusely as his face went pale. "Arthur, what is this ridiculous prank? Did you rent a nice suit to come back here and cry about your job? Security, get this guy out." "Quiet, mister." "Vance," the lead attorney interrupted sharply, dropping a thick stack of certified acquisition papers onto the reception desk with a heavy thud. "Mr. Arthur Miller is not here to beg for anything. As of 9 o'clock this morning, Mr. Miller's private investment firm completed the full cash purchase of Apex Motors and all surrounding real estate." Julian's eyes went wide with pure terror as he stumbled backward against the desk. This is impossible." "He was a mechanic. He made $30 an hour." 30 years ago, Arthur spoke up, his voice smooth, calm, and packed with undeniable authority. "I built and sold the largest automotive manufacturing chain in this state. When I retired, I realized I hated sitting in an empty mansion doing nothing. I loved cars. I loved the honesty of turning a wrench and fixing things with my hands. So I took a job in the service bay right here, completely incognito, just to stay active." Arthur stepped right up to Julian, looking down at his trembling former manager. "I worked in that bay for 20 years because I cared about the craft and the crew," Arthur said softly. "Over the last 7 years, I watched you bully young mechanics, cheat customers on service markups, and treat anyone who wore work boots like garbage. On Friday, when you humiliated me over a smudge of grease, you proved that you don't care about cars or people. You only care about fake status." Julian fell to his knees right on the polished floor, tears welling up in his eyes. "Arthur, Mr. Miller, please, I have a mortgage. I have lease payments. I'm sorry, I was just stressed. Please give me another chance." Arthur looked down at him with quiet pity. A man who stomps on others, when he thinks he holds power, does not deserve to lead anything. "On Friday, you told me I was trash and didn't belong here. Today, Julian, those exact words apply to you." Arthur turned to his head legal counsel. "Escort Mr. Vance off my property immediately. Audit his entire management record, and pay out full back wages to every single technician he illegally penalized." The entire service bay crew broke into wild cheers as 2 security guards grabbed Julian by the arms and dragged him out of the showroom, sobbing and ruined in front of everyone. Arthur Vance lost everything because he judged a man by the stain on his shirt. And Arthur Miller proved that true power doesn't need to shout. It just waits for the right moment to buy the whole building.